I, 29 male, used to date my ex-girlfriend Jane, 30, until I caught her with my ex-friend roommate Ted, 32. We broke up and I moved back to my home state and never spoke to either of them again. Most of our mutual friends ended up overlooking the matter since Jane and Ted were in love and planned on getting married, so I cut them all off and just moved on with my life. Fast forward to now, and I'm in a much better place with a high-paying salary and just proposed to my girlfriend Ashley, 26. Life was going great for me. I'm not a big social media user, but I did a post about my engagement, and one of the few friends I kept from my past saw and passed the information along to Jane and Ted. Jane attempted to reach out to me, but I blocked her without reading the message because I wanted nothing to do with her. I also told Ashley, and she preemptively blocked her too. Well, Jane kept reaching out with fake profiles, but I ended up deleting my account, but not before I told her that I wanted nothing to do with her and to leave me alone. In my mind, there was no reason for us to communicate for any reason, and I just wanted to live my life. Then, Jane reached out to my sister Mandy, 32, and told her that I had a son. I thought Jane was full of it because it had been 6 months between me catching her cheating and me moving away before changing my number, and years between now and then. Plenty of time for Jane to realize that she was pregnant and contact me about it, or even come after me for child support. I thought she was making up some wild story to get me to talk to her, so I got a lawyer to send her an official letter to leave me alone. Then the lawyer returned to me with pictures of a 5-year-old boy who bore a resemblance to me. It turns out Jane was pregnant, but she and Ted thought the baby was his because they didn't always use condoms, while I did, and opted not to say anything. They got married, and Ted is the legal father, but when they tried to have more kids, it turned out that Ted was sterile. So Jane and Ted decided just to raise the kid as their own without ever saying a thing because Ted felt like he was less of a man for not being able to reproduce. It wasn't until Jane came across my account and saw how nice my life was that she felt like her son deserved the financial benefits as well. So I did a DNA test and I am the father. I agreed that child support was required and told Jane and Ted that my lawyers would send over details about payment and visitation. Ted was upset and refused to sign away his rights and didn't want me around his son. I promptly told him that if I'm going to pay child support, I'm entitled to all the legal rights that a father is entitled to, and that they wouldn't get a dime from me until then. If they refuse, then I'll start a savings account for the kid until he's an adult. Jane and Ted called me selfish, but since it's coming from them, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. So, am I the idiot? Edit. Ted is the legal father and is on the birth certificate and is still married to Jane. So, as far as the American courts are concerned, I have no rights to the child. But that also means Jane and Ted can't force me to pay child support. Jane and Ted want me to have no contact with the kid whatsoever, but still, discreetly, send them money. Not the idiot. She wants you to bankroll her happy family, but you to never see the kid. I wouldn't be okay with that either. If that is your son, you have every right to seek your legal rights to visitation, even custody, especially if they expect you to contribute financially. Through no fault of yours, you are just now finding out you have a son. This whole situation is crazy. They only reached out because he was doing well. I'd never pay them a dime. I bet they're not even going to use most of the money for the kid. Probably spend it on themselves. Maybe the savings account, but even that is iffy since the kid won't know him, and that revelation may be detrimental. Unfortunately, OP doesn't have any legal rights unless Ted chooses to give his rights up. The child was born within a marriage, and the husband is on the birth certificate. This means Ted is the legal father, and in most places in the US, his paternity cannot be challenged, even by a biological father with a DNA test. It sucks, but there's not much the OP can do about it. I think it's a great idea to start a college fund or set money aside for the child if he does meet the child when he's an adult. We have a 10-month-old daughter, our first child. I was born and raised in the US while my wife's family is from Asia. After our daughter was born, my wife's family has not had the chance to see her. My wife hasn't seen her family in about 2 years as well, except for her sister and brother who live in the same city like us. The rest of her family is in Asia. She wanted to plan a trip to visit them with the baby. She wanted to leave around the end of April. Initially, I was 100% on board with it. However, we're not financially well off, so I've been working close to 60 hours for the past 3 months to pay for her trip. I was putting my money and actions where my mouth is. Things got complicated when she wanted to celebrate our daughter's first birthday away from me. She now wants to leave 1 week before her initial plan so our daughter can celebrate her birthday with her parents and family back home while I would still be in the US. She also wants to now go for about 4 months. I had multiple discussions with her. I explained to her that I wanted to be with my daughter for her first birthday. I also don't want to spend such a long time away from her. I want to watch my daughter grow up. I don't want to miss her first moments. Unfortunately, I can't make this trip with her due to finances. We both can't afford to stop working at the same time. We're barely keeping afloat, especially with how expensive the trip will be. Her taking such a long time off work is also not financially feasible. Her response was that I should come for a week with her, celebrate our daughter's birthday, and then go back. Her family lives on a remote island between Asia mainland and Australia. It's a 2-day trip each way costing more than $4,000 in tickets, not counting pandemic shenanigans. So her expectation is I travel for 4 days, stay for 3 days, and spend $4,000 rather than her delaying her trip by a week. She's now calling me a controlling, misogynistic idiot who doesn't support her. Not the idiot. Nothing is controlling or misogynistic about not wanting to be separated from your baby for 4 months. The issue isn't the travel itself, it's the length of time you'll be separated and the emotional and financial strain that will put on you and the family. I think it's bizarre that she finds it acceptable to leave you for months with your child. I'd be careful because if she takes the child for that long, what's to stop her from staying indefinitely? Frankly, I'd never be comfortable letting someone take my child out of the country without me. Too many cases where the parent just decides not to come back. Not the idiot. I suspect your wife's family has pressured her into agreeing to extend the trip. If I were you, I'd be worried that her family would try and convince her not to return at all when she gets there. You, as a father, deserve time with your child. 4 months is ridiculous. You as a couple cannot afford this trip, and she's disregarding both your rights as a father and your financial stability as a family. Unfortunately, this is a red flag for her respect, or lack thereof, for you. She is the one changing the plans. Her family can celebrate the baby's first birthday over Zoom. Staying for 4 months is absurd. Is she quitting her job if she has one? I can see her leaving with the baby and you at home. You guys need to come to some kind of agreement, or this will be messy. If you speak to your wife and she still insists on this, you may need to speak to a lawyer to protect your rights as a father. I, 32 male, am child-free. I always thought my little brother would be too, but he likes kids. I always thought my sister-in-law must be behind him feeling like that, but he says he's the one who wants them, but I don't know if I believe that, honestly. She's currently pregnant with their second child and they already have a 1-year-old. They were over to celebrate our dad's birthday and my mom told sister-in-law she was sure she was exhausted and to sit down and rest and not help with the dishes. I fake pouted and jokingly asked why she offered the broodmare rest, but not her son, who's been helping her all day. I expected my mom to laugh and sort of swap my shoulder like she usually would, but it was silent. My brother asked me what I had just said about his wife. I laughed it off and said to take it easy, it was just a joke. He demanded I explain what was funny about calling his wife a broodmare. By that point, I was irritated and said they're the ones who thought popping out kids close together was a smart idea, and at this point, that's what she essentially was. He called me a disgusting, immature idiot for how I spoke about his wife. My dad told me to leave and my mom refused to answer any calls or texts other than once to tell me she was disappointed in me. I really thought my family was overreacting, but now several of my friends are saying I was being an idiot to my sister-in-law and there was no reason for me to say that. I really was just kidding though. Am I really the idiot just because my joke fell flat? You are the idiot. I'm 32 and I called a woman a broodmare. How can I be wrong? Come on, mate, you have to know the answer to that. And no, you weren't just kidding. You were being nasty to your brother's wife because of your issues with their reproductive choices, none of which are your business. Did you seriously call her a broodmare? Holy smokes, your joke didn't fall flat. It wasn't a joke, and it was in poor taste. You were beyond disrespectful and should feel ashamed. It's people like you that make the rest of the child-free community look like selfish, arrogant idiots, and you need to stop. Being child-free is a choice we make for ourselves, and we don't interfere with or belittle other people for making different ones. So edgy. You know you don't have to make being child-free your entire personality, right? Don't you love when people behave like idiots, and the moment they're called out on it, they turn whiny and bleat, but it was just a joke. It was mean. You meant it to be mean, as is obvious from your post. Finally, your family recognize that you are willfully mean and now you're suffering the consequences of your joke. Boo-hoo-hoo for you. Exactly. OP cannot pretend this is a joke when it so obviously reflects his true feelings. He's definitely made these jokes in the past, and I'm guessing he just pushed everyone over the edge with this one. Misogyny comes in many forms. This is one. You, OP, owe everyone an apology. I'm engaged to Anthony and I've met his parents several times. I've always felt like they were very critical and it was frustrating. I feel like he's blind to just how critical and snappish they can be because he's used to them. But this year, I decided I'm not wasting my energy defending myself and justifying myself and trying to convince them to respect me. I decided to just be unashamed about myself, even the critical parts. So this week we were visiting because it was his dad's birthday. And when we were there, his dad commented about me always coming across like a bit of a gold digger. Now, in reality, I don't think I am. I have a high-paying job of my own, I bought my own sports car in full, I pay half our rent, and I contribute equally to the shopping and utilities and bills. In addition, I buy most of my own clothes and bags and accessories. The only thing that might be borderline gold digger about me is that I wanted a partner with similar financial stability and responsibility when I was looking for a life partner. But I didn't explain all of that. I just giggled and said, "Damn right, looking this good doesn't come cheap." Now, this was a joke. I was dressed in a very understated outfit, but it kind of frustrated his dad, who asked if I really just said that. I just went, "Yeah, I grew out of messing with broke guys after college. I'm 28, I've got no time for that anymore." Later that night, his mom criticized the cookies I brought to the party for being too flat, and I joked that I was just glad they were edible and not the literally on fire special. His mom asked if I was a radical feminist proud of not knowing how to cook, and I go, "Yeah, I guess I would describe myself as a feminist, and I'm proud of all the things I've put time into learning. Honestly, cooking just hasn't been a priority yet, but maybe I'll learn sometime." Of course, this irritated them and also made my fiancé wonder what I was saying. He pulled me aside and asked why I was making jokes about being a gold digger and not knowing how to cook, because that's not true at all. I contribute a lot financially and also to the home. I said I just wasn't in the mood for an argument or a disagreement, so I was trying to brush off his parents' criticism with light jokes. He said that it was making me look bad, and I said, yeah, the stuff your parents have assumed about me isn't that flattering, but I really wish they'd stop bringing up so much critical stuff. He said he meant how flippant I was being, and I said that I was just too old to be having the same arguments. Sometimes you have to realize after a while of butting heads, nothing actually changes. So I'm not interested in arguing anymore. He said that I was pushing them away right before the wedding. Am I the idiot for unabashedly agreeing with my soon-to-be mother-in-law and father-in-law's criticisms? Not the idiot, and I love this. They keep criticizing, and instead of arguing, you agree with them and it's still somehow your fault. Make sure this guy is worth it because you're in for a lifetime of this at all the holidays and special occasions. I would be hesitant to marry this guy. If he didn't want you to be seen as a gold digger, he should have been the one to correct them. And deciding you want to be with somebody who has similar attitudes toward finances doesn't make you a gold digger. Sounds pretty sensible to me. I just think you might need to find somebody with similar attitudes towards finances and a spine if you're looking for future happiness. Absolutely. Why didn't he step in? Why did he instead pull OP aside? I like the way you handled it. Tell future husband that if the in-laws keep saying critical opinions, you'll keep agreeing. Why do you have to defend yourself when he should be the one to step in and say something? I'm guessing he's more worried that if they aren't getting an argument out of you, they'll stop and begin criticizing him instead. If you're not there, are they critical of him? His parents are obviously trying to get you angry and you didn't have it. I wonder what their endgame is for being so mean to you. I disagree with Anthony that it was making you look bad. It was actually the opposite. This evil in-law nonsense will not magically get better after the wedding, and, if it's in your future plan, after you have children. It will get worse. He has to be prepared to defend you or shut them down. According to my parents, I, nearly adult female, am the responsible kid. I have 2 siblings, teen female, tween male, and my bro and I get along because we're both pretty quiet and easygoing, but my sister is a complete witch, to put it frankly. She throws a fit whenever she doesn't get her way, and usually my parents just give in because she's an immense pain to deal with for days. She always has to be the center of attention, and she causes problems to get attention when she's not. It gets really old. I drive them to school and pick them up now, and our mom gave me money to get us fast